Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ryan Dosa podcast. Today, we are joined by Caleb Kynard. Caleb is a children's book author and illustrator, content creator, NFT artist, and digital entrepreneur. He hosts the Lazy Dreamer podcast and is a recurring guest on the NFT Voices podcast. He uses art as a means to express deep messages about spiritual and philosophical concepts. Here is Caleb Kynard. Caleb, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's really cool to have you on. Like I said, I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, kind of pick your brain. Um, you mentioned well, yeah, I guess before we start, it's like everything that you post, man, is just like fire. Like you'll make a post and I'm just like fire, 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 like literally everything. It blows my mind. So yeah, again, it's really a thrill to have you on here. I guess we'll just start. So, tell us what you've been up to recently? Like any projects you've been working on? I know you mentioned you've been helping out with the basketball team.
Yeah, so I've been coaching basketball, and that's something I don't really talk about much on the internet, but I played basketball for my whole life. Into college a little bit, and that's when I stopped. But yeah, I've been coaching, and it's been more fun than playing, which is surprising. But other than that, I'm working on a concept for a book, which I mean, I've had this concept for a while, but I'm hopeful that taking steps every day will get it into fruition. But other than that, really just content, book, coaching. That's about it.
Okay, cool. Um, cool. Yeah, basketball. My friend I mentioned earlier, he also played basketball in Ohio. So that's
Really,
yeah. You're coaching high school?
yeah. So I'm the head coach of the freshman team at St. John's Jesuit, which is pretty good program, historically pretty good. There's a player from there in the NBA right now, so that kind of shows, I think, the level of competition over there.
Oh, cool. And did you also attend St. John's?
I did for 2 years. So I went there. I went to three different high schools. So I was kind of all over the place, but that's the one school that I was like, dang, I wish I had not left there because it was definitely the best situation.
Oh, cool. You transferred for basketball or other reasons?
Yeah, mostly basketball.
Yeah.
But coaches like to hype things up until you get there, and then the grass isn't always greener.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's sport, the transfer portal.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, that's cool. You were reading Ram Dass recently. I wanted to
Mhm.
bring him. He was the first person I was gonna bring up, and boom, right there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, one of the best books I've ever read. Very influential. Tell us, what do you think about Ram Dass?
Honestly, I love him. He's one of those people I think that had just a way with words. Like when you listen to him, it's almost like he's illustrating something for you. And he's illustrating, how I see it, is just these different planes of consciousness that he has reached. And he's explaining to all of us how we all have that in us. And it, even though, we may look up to him as like a enlightened guru in a way, he does something where I think it's like you can see yourself in him in many ways. When I started reading Being Ram Dass, which is like his autobiography. I didn't finish it, but I haven't finished it yet. But it's I think he has quite a way with words that will it helps you realize that like everything is for a reason, and it's all kind of happening for you. Like that's kind of a cliche saying, but it's all happening for you to help you kind of awaken into your authentic self.
Yeah, I would agree. Man. It's just like the way, yeah, way with words for sure. Even the drawing, like just
Mm-hmm.
like the font that this book is written in, the drawings and like
Yeah.
it doesn't adhere to, it's sideways and then it's horizontal. It's like all over the place. It's quite the acid trip. I've never done acid before, but I could imagine what it might be like just from reading. Um, yeah, very cool. So yeah, I was psyched to see that. It's like, oh, Ram Dass. I got put onto him about a year ago, and yeah, it's really cool. My buddy lent me this book, read it for a week, and it's like, man, I need to buy my own copy. So, um, yeah, that's that. Segueing into something a little bit more, I guess, practical. You had a post, I believe you had a post a while back about, basically. kind of like the highest correlation we have with making money is value, right? You want to make money, provide value.
Mhm.
Pretty simple when you put it like that. You could see a very high correlation with providing value and making money. Don't focus so much on making money, provide value, the money will come. Makes sense. Cool there. And this is something that I've come across kind of on my own. It's like, okay, money, value, okay, provide value, simple. The problem that I have, and I was hoping you could kind of help me out a little bit here, is I'm finding that so so it's pretty, I mean, you can provide value, like especially today with TikTok. Anyone can go on TikTok and make, catchy little, well, not anyone, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a lot of people can go on TikTok and catch people's attention, right? Do the whole dopamine thing and like short clips and like the trending music, audio. You can build a large following, you can market things, you can provide value, right? That provides value.
Mhm.
My intuition is, and you don't have to agree with this, but I think that people on average are fundamentally valuing the wrong things. So like I realized this like a couple years ago. It's like, okay, provide, okay, make money, provide value. But then after that, I realized like, oh shit, I really like inside, I don't think people value the right thing. So should I be providing value? It's not like does the world really need another person like posting, TikToks about, God knows what, or like
Right.
I feel like the world, like what you're doing, I think the world needs more people like you that are telling people, hey, be yourself, explore all sides of you, the shadow, I think that's what people need. But unfortunately, I think the masses don't value that. I think if we valued authenticity and honesty the same way we value these catchy little clips, don't get me wrong, those things are great, but if we value that the same way, I think we might be in a better spot. So I know that's a lot, but how do you kind of think about that?
I agree. I mean, for example, like this conversation right here. Um, I'm sure you know this. It'd be way easier to get a million views if you were to just like have some sort of clickbait type in the conversation, right? But the internet itself, I think, lacks discernment. It lacks the ability to discern situations and like really how I see it is it's a vehicle for escapism. That in many ways that is the value that I think that you were kind of describing is people's people's ability to log on and their attention is on that device, nowhere else for that time being, and they're escaping their real lives. So that's I think when it comes to like the internet especially, it's it's a challenging dance, I guess, as a content creator who wants to provide deeper value, some value with like some substance to it, you know? And it could be easier to just log on, pick the top trending song, pick the trend and dance to it. But it's for some, I think for some of us it's hard to kind of stomach that. That's how I feel too. It's like I've done that. I've had the what was it called, a series that was it was doing really well in numbers. I got a lot of followers from it, but every single being authentic or being as authentic as I could have been. So I agree. I think that in many ways I'm hopeful that this is like a time where we're shifting that, because there are people like you and I and many others who are starting to prioritize authenticity and things of that nature. And I mean, everyone also says, like all the content creator advice tips and things like that say, be yourself, be yourself, be you. But no one really dives into what that means. And I think it's almost becoming like a buzzword or a buzz phrase. Yeah, be yourself. But what about the shadow? What about the ego? What about all these different parts of yourself that make up the whole? And in many ways, it's like educating. It's trying to educate while being entertaining in a way too, to be able to keep the attention. And I think that's the challenge that content creators like us kind of run into. But I think that we're shifting towards this. At least I'm hopeful that that's the case. But I agree that it's tough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a big trade-off, man. It's like you say, we can all do the dancing thing. We can all, throw that, but man, like does the world really need another dancing video? Like for the love of
Exactly.
God, for the love of God. But perfect segue into the next question. So, the internet. I spoke with a mentor about a week ago, which very smart guy. We were talking about the future of the internet. What the hell
Mhm.
is that landscape going to look like? And he, a bit more about this. You know more about like NFTs and kind of the digital Web3. I don't even know what the hell that is, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so basically the hypothesis is in about 10 years we're going to do away with cell phones and we're going to have like goggles that like record everything, and the ability like at some point, again, hypothesis, we don't know, like
Right.
10-20 years, basically like it's just going to be streaming 24/7, like everything that you see is going to just like go into the cloud. And this is going to be really cool for like, you know because I asked him, I'm like, how is this going to affect kind of like our humanity? We can future generate, like our great great grandkids are going to be able to look back and see like what you were doing on like a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
Whereas with yeah, we just have like a couple pictures of like our grandparents. We don't know what they were like as like, were they good people, bad, like what were their values?
Mhm.
Our grandkids are going to be able to like know everything about us. So and he also said it would be cool for crime. Crime will really go down because if someone like robs you, just boom, you have like, they're going to get arrested right away. You have the goggle streaming. um
Right.
how do you think this is? Maybe I'll kind of start with my hypothesis, and then you could. So like, I think that this is really gonna, the way it would affect businesses, people that are doing poor business, bad faith, they're kind of cheat, they're just gonna get exposed. And the people that are living in good faith, I guess you could say, they're just gonna continue to rob because everything's gonna be so public at that point, seemingly. Um, how do you think about this? Like, yeah.
Yeah. That's actually a very interesting like concept, and I another area where I agree. I think in Web3, if anyone's in Web3, then they know it's happened a couple of times already where founders may do something with the wrong intent, and the community is, well, so in Web3 the community, they pretty much fund the endeavor because they make an NFT project. Let's say they have 1,000 NFTs, 100 a piece, that gives them $100,000. And if the founder takes that and runs with it, then everyone knows, like, there's no hiding, and everyone has that wallet address, things like that. So it's definitely becoming more public. It's definitely becoming more um, intimate, I think, our relationship with technology. And you brought up like the glasses. I think that's the perfect example, like with the metaverse, things like that, where I have my I have my phone in my pocket, but when I'm wearing glasses, that's on me all the time. I'm wearing an Apple Watch. Like it's getting closer and closer. Um, and I also think it almost, it segues into like Neuralink too, because if that's Web3, if this is Web3 with the metaverse, NFTs, crypto, I see Neuralink as like Web4. That's that next step right after that. And we're going from holding the device to wearing the device to we are the device. Like it's inside of us. And I think when it comes to business, that it's gonna be more public. But when it comes to like everyday life and things of that nature, that's where I think each person has to kind of do the work we were talking about earlier, the shadow work, things of that nature, to be able to best represent themselves online. Because as we know, it's easy to just kind of follow the tribe, easy to follow society and what they deem acceptable, and not really ask yourself what you want to be doing with these devices that we have now. And we call it the age of information, and I think that goes in so many levels. Some people may like see it as the fact that they can look anything up, but how about the fact that Google has all of my information and TikTok has all my information, and pretty soon, like you said, our grandkids will be able to have all of our information from this day. So it's happening, but I don't know if it's worth fearing like some people do. But I think it's an interesting time to be alive. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, for sure. Exponential growth, right? Like it took us
Yeah.
forever to go from freaking single-celled organisms to like multi-cell, and then it took us like a little bit shorter to like develop into society, and then freaking in a blink of an eye, we're already building like skyscrapers and planes, and it's just and then we're gonna blink
Yep.
and like, that's another, yeah, my mentor said as well. He's like, I don't know, like in the year 2060, he's like, I don't know if there's gonna be too many human beings walking around. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. You
um,
ever seen the movie Wall-E where they're like on those little
yeah,
chairs like that?
yeah.
It could very well be like that.
Yeah. That's my career out of the way because I'm a personal trainer. Damn. But yeah, grandkids, if you're watching this 100 years from now, what's up? Um, but yeah, anyways, so yeah, so okay. Kind of bringing it back to earth a little bit. That's all in the future. We don't know when that's going to
Right.
happen. My girlfriend very intelligently pointed out, because I was, spilling the beans to her about this, and she's like, Ryan, like they were 100 years ago, they were saying that we were going to have flying cars like by now. So we don't. It's probably going to happen. We just like
You never know. You
yeah,
never know when. You never know if something may happen that people look bad upon it and then it doesn't happen. So yeah, definitely.
yeah, 100%. Bruh, a little bit back to the current day and age. So you had another post basically talking about how you posted like the same piece of content to multiple website. You hit it on TikTok and on Instagram, and one went viral, and the other, it was the same content, but
Hmm.
the algorithm didn't pick it up, and you were encouraging people to, hey, post your stuff on multiple outlets. And that kind of stuck with me. That was months ago. I was like, huh. It's like, it makes sense. I kind of filed
Hmm.
it away. And then I was listening to a book summary of the book Don't Trust Your Gut, which I don't necessarily agree with. That's what got us. Like, don't trust your gut.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like, the guy's dealing with all statistics. I don't. It's an interesting book. I'd recommend it, but I don't necessarily agree with it wholeheartedly. But basically, one of the things was basically that they did studies on successful artists, and they found that the most successful artists, they were more likely to show their art to multiple venues. It's almost
Hmm.
like throwing darts. You're literally just throwing
Yep.
darts. You're just waiting for that. And then conversely, the artists, as you can imagine, who didn't do so well, they showed their art to like one or two venues, like didn't get anything and like gave up.
Hmm.
So the take home is like be aggressive, like show it. Like there's gonna be someone that like likes it, picks it up. I think
Yep.
Tom. Um, how do you in the current day and age, and then the takeaway to that is like, man, like like post on Instagram, post on TikTok. Like I'm even flirting with the idea of having like multiple Instagram accounts, and like kind of having one where I kind of try to feed the algorithm, get like a following, and then maybe try to feed those followers to my more like real authentic account. um how do you think about all that?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you said the throwing darts analogy because that is I use that like every time because it is. I think you're almost throwing darts but with a blindfold on. So the thing about all these different platforms is, and you might have seen this post too, but I see it as a popularity contest. Like it's like you're in high school and you're ranked in this little hierarchy and no one really talks about it, but everyone kind of knows. And certain creators may have a blue check mark, so they're seen a little better. All of a sudden, Twitter lets you buy a blue check mark, so it's seen differently on there. So really, how I see it is, if I'm posting a TikTok, why not post it on Instagram as well? If it represents me in a way that I like am proud of, or if I'm posting on Instagram, why not post it on TikTok? If I'm making a tweet, why not take that tweet, kind of dig a little deeper into it and make a minute video out of it, Because there's really like, even if the video gets let's say the tweet gets 1,000 likes and 100 retweets, but then the video gets 36 views. It's the only detriment that actually happens is in here. It might shatter your confidence a little bit, but other than that, like it's no one really thinks twice besides you. So I mean, I've even needed to get on like YouTube Shorts, things like that, and working on longer form content. So really, how I see it, the more content, the better, because all the algorithms, they work differently, and you never know which one might give you a shot when you're not even expecting it. And I think to balance that, though, I would say this is actually kind of where you have to trust your gut a little bit, because some people may, like, as a creator, I'm sure it takes a lot of energy out of you to add a platform, because you're going to devote some time to learn the algorithm, some time to edit the videos, et cetera, et cetera. So if someone's on TikTok and they're trying to develop their presence on there, and they feel as though they're getting the advice to branch out, but they inside it says, I need to double down here first, then why not? Like, just kind of follow what the voice of calmness in your head is saying. I think that's the best way I can put it, because it might stretch someone out too thin and they might get burnt out if they go on too many platforms. But for some people, they might have the time, the energy, the resources to do so. So it really depends on each person. It's kind of how I see it.
Right. Yeah, everyone's different. Some people, yeah, it's really interesting. It relates to training. I coach like bodybuilders and physique athletes, and there's always the debate of like, should you do it like a lot of volume, like a lot of sets, or should you do like a
Mm-hmm.
few, really focus on it? Everyone's a little different, like
Yeah.
psychologically, would you rather throw 100 darts just like that, or would you only get five and you really focus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's cool to play. Yeah, I would recommend people listening play with it. Like have a week, just freaking throw as many darts as you can, see how you kind of respond, then revert back to, a few darts and kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that was really cool. I think that inspired. I'm gonna start posting some YouTube shorts now. I might even hop on TikTok. Um,
I would love to see you there. That's probably my main platform is TikTok, and
yeah,
so you got my follow. You'll start with one.
thank you. Yeah, no, I'll do it. It's like I don't want to play into the like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to like play into the. I feel like our attention spans are just shortening and shortening and
Yeah.
shortening. So I would try to do it in a way where like I would try to get people's attention, and then we're like, hey, this is I'm gonna if you really want to know how to train, I'm gonna sit down and give like a nuanced like 20-minute discussion. And I understand that's not for everyone. Some people,
Mm-hmm.
but you reality is nuanced.
Yeah, and actually, this is what you said just kind of sparked something in my mind that I've another idea I've kind of been playing with the internet about the attention span. I feel like the internet in many ways is it's just an extension of humanity, which I think is a commonly accepted kind of way of thinking. But I also feel like where people forget is it's also an extension of the human shadow and ego and things of that nature. So all these algorithms, they're they're fighting for each of our attention span pretty much. They're fighting for how long you'll watch, if you'll like it, if you'll comment, how many times you watch the video, whatever. And I we bringing it back to like what we said earlier, where there's some things that need to be discussed that have a bit more substance. I feel like the internet in many ways has made it so that can't happen because we're fighting for the attention span and things of that nature. So I feel like it's almost like an extension of the human ego in a way where it's you versus me. I have this many followers, you have this many followers, and I get this many likes, this person gets this many likes. And it's all based on like the material aspects of it, how many likes you get, all the engagement, how many followers you have. And that's where I think there's a lot of room for growth with the internet is. And it's a pretty hard question to answer, but how do we create a more like an environment that allows growth for like the human spirit rather than valuing only material gains?
Yeah, this is a great question. The first thing that comes to mind, I think Be Real is really cool. Are you
Mm-hmm.
on that? Yeah, Be Real is really
Yeah,
cool.
I use it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I checked it out. It's pretty cool. It does away with likes. You can see like your who friends like your stuff. You could comment, but like it's very kind of inherently anti that sort of popularity contest you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing the networking on it though, it's kind of like Snapchat. You're not gonna
Yeah,
really find other. So yeah, if we could get something kind of like that has all the good stuff of Be Real, but with the same kind of networking opportunities as like TikTok and Instagram, I think that'd be really cool.
I
Um,
agree, definitely.
yeah, and then just at the individual level, just like changing people's values. You're a much different person than you were when you were like 16, 17, as am I. People's values change over time. And if we could make it the culture, where we're valuing honesty and authenticity just as much as we value the dopaminergic stuff, you know, that could be really cool as well.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's kind of maybe in the near future we'll see a platform like that, and I hope so. And I'll be
Yeah,
blazing on on that
yeah.
platform.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. This is a big one. I saved the best one for last.
Awesome.
How should we live both individually and societally, and why should we live that way?
Hmm, that is a good question. I think individually, it comes down to, are you living for yourself? And I think that's a very kind of like that's common to hear, but people don't really take a step back and think if they're living for themselves very often. Because oftentimes what happens is they think they are, but they don't realize that the decision they made was based on trauma that they had as a child, or something that a teacher told them when they were 8 years old. And they maybe said that they'd never do this. So they're living the rest of their life trying to prove that person wrong. And, the tribal mindset is something that I've been thinking about a lot. So not everyone may agree with this, but this is how I see it. Religion, for example, that's spiritual tribalism. So Christianity in America would be spiritual tribalism. And I think that a lot of people nowadays are taking steps back from that and realizing, I I I've been told this. I've been told this by people who kind of put on a persona of being holier and things of that nature, but they're human beings just like I am. And then they find their own path of doing things. And maybe they read Ram Dass, or maybe they read Eckhart Tolle, or Carl Jung, whoever. But I think how I see it is, if everyone can search within themselves to find their authentic selves, and have some sort of connection with it, then I actually think the rest of the societal issue would take care of itself, because we as a whole make up society. And if each person is living on their best terms, then society will be better for it. And it'll be a individual manifestation first that will then manifest collectively. And who knows what that may look like. I'm not sure about, like, what's it called, economic structures and governments and things of that nature. But I do think there would be a lot of changes, and but I have no idea what that would look like. But I do think it what it comes down to is the individual person being willing to look within themselves honestly. And looking at themselves honest is really the hardest part, because we like to change narratives a bit from our own truth. But when you find your truth, I think you get closer to the truth in general. And that will lead to a society that's a bit more well functioned and has more fulfilled people leading it.
Okay. Okay, and so the why for that. Okay, so we should really prioritize finding your authentic self, your true self. Um, you know, and we have 10 minutes left. Okay. You should really prioritize finding your authentic self. Sort of religion has some good stuff going for it, but it's potentially dangerous, and then it can be very tribal. And so, the
Mm-hmm.
individuation journey, Carl Jung, who are Ram Dass, um, finding yourself, uh, living for yourself. And then the reason we should do that is because it will lead to better outcomes
Yeah,
in, like,
yeah,
all around, like, at the individual level and the societal level, will just
yeah.
function better. Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's how I see it. And I think, to kind of like help make sense of it, I guess, I think it's very easy to be a slave to something. It can be a good thing for a lot of people, but it's very easy to become a slave to your religion. It's very easy to become a slave to eating, or, we both work out. I've done this before. I've become a slave to working out, because if I didn't get my workout in every day, then I was itching. Like, I got to go lift. I got to go shoot. I got to go play basketball. And that's, I think, what we're looking for is personal freedom. And when we find personal freedom, then collective freedom comes too.
Yeah, there's a very reminiscent of a quote. Society starts with the self.
Mm-hmm.
society starts with the self. Yeah, very cool. It's very similar to my answer. My kind of the way I would sort of answer that question is basically like we want to move from a bad state to a good state. We want whatever it is for you,
Mhm.
like hell to heaven, samsara to nirvana. Like we want to move basically from a worse state to a better state. We have been doing that. Like Steven Pinker does some great work, with showing like data that the quality of life on average has gotten better with every coming decade. More people have access to shelter and food and housing. I think what we're the real challenge, we're slowly starting to kind of master survival. Like hundreds of thousands,
Yeah.
survival. We just have to survive. We're starting to get survival. This is potentially an insensitive statement, but we're starting to get survival down. I like there's some third world countries that can't be true for, but we're basically starting to get survival down. Now it seems to be more of like an internal battle, a mental,
Mhm.
depression, anxiety, imposter syndrome, not taking action, those kind of addiction, we're kind of
Yeah.
imploding from the inside out. The Fight Clubs. Have you seen Fight Club?
I have not. I know I need to
Oh,
though.
yeah. What did you say?
So I know I need to though. It's like a classic, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I was like, yeah, whatever. I watched it. I was like, there's so many, man. The shadow, the philosophical themes. Like Jordan Peterson, taught. He did an analysis of like the shadow, and it's really cool. But yeah, basically, there's a scene in that movie where the guy's like, he's like, in the 30s and the 40s, the men had wars to fight against. They had a purpose. And
Mhm.
that kind of, and now we don't have a war, we don't have anything, and so depression, what is the meaning of my life, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, basically we want to do that, and I think a big part of that for sure is being in tune with your true self. Um, if I can I pick it apart a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If I wanted to get nitpicky, I could say it's like what is a self, right? Like we
Yeah.
know we know, right? We know like Buddhism, right? Oh, the self is an illusion. Like, okay, we know this. And then if you really think about it, like on the like really every every cell is almost an individual if you think about it. The illusion, we're pretty sure we have neurological evidence attesting for it, as well as years of contemplative practice. Okay, this thing we're calling I is an illusion, like in the same way that
Mhm.
a magic, like it seems like it's there, but if you really look at it, it's not. It seems to have evolved for some. And we know the ego evolved for when we were living in tribes to make sure that you weren't like treated unfairly. um so given that, like the self is so like you have the shadow, you have
Mhm.
your high self, your low, you have you when you're tired, you when you're not tired, you like so the thing we're going to call is that just sort of like the average of all of those, how like
I think I mean that's honestly like that is the tough part of grasping the concept. And the average is an interesting way to put it. I guess I would say it's like all encapsulating. It's all of it. It's the ego, it's the shadow, it's the high self, the low self, you know, any version of ourselves that we've enacted in this world. It's all of it. It's kind of how I see it. And how I guess the goal, if there was one, would be to become whole with and flow with each of the versions, where I like to think of each of ourselves as this is the kind of out there spiritual concept where we are the universe, right? And so if we are the universe, then becoming whole would being in flow with the universe. And in that sense, when like this is why I love people like Ram Dass, Eckhart Tolle, and them, because it sounds like they are a vessel speaking as the universe. So the self, like you said, it's the illusion, it's the imaginary I, it's all of that. But I think below that, the authentic self is it's the all encapsulating version that understands not I but we. It's us. It's not me. It's us, and it acts from that place, and it may channel different parts of the shadow, the ego, et cetera, for whatever time and for whatever reason. But that's where self awareness would come in to be able to say, okay, I've channeled the ego for this long. Let me go back to the higher self, whatever you want to call it, the true self. I like true and authentic self, but I mean, that's something that I think anyone, like, we could pick apart this idea, this concept for 40 minutes alone because it's so tough to grasp sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure 100 years from now, the answers are gonna look a lot different, and
Yeah,
as we continue to figure that out, it's coming to my attention that we have 2 minutes and 41 seconds left. So yeah, I think super quick wrapping up thoughts. You gave some great answers. That's a very, I think our kind of visions for the future were very intertwined in that a lot of it has to do with the individuation journey and kind of not, it's conformity feels good, you feel safe, but is that really kind of like, was it Socrates, like the unexamined life is not worth living kind of thing.
I
Um,
believe so. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not sure on that one, but it's definitely something I've heard.
yeah. And yeah, the future of the internet's going to be huge. Yeah, anything, we have 2 minutes. Do you have any final thoughts?
Um, you know, I think one of my final thought would be this: that we may sit here and we definitely agree on the individual journey, but someone else may think about it more of the collective journey. We have to have societal rules, not necessarily rules, because I think that we have to have that either way, but we have to think about it more of the collective and things like that. And what I find is interesting is that when we really speak empathetically on each point, we're talking about the same thing. We're all talking about this the freedom we mentioned earlier. For us, it may be personal leading to collective. For others, it may be collective leading to personal. So I think there's so much division, and that would be ego looking for us to be separate. But we all can kind of sense that we're not living to our highest potential, and that's what this time is about. I think, in my opinion. And so I know we're running out of time, but I'll be quick. But but I think that since we can sense that whether you see it as individual or you see it as societal, whatever you want to see it as, then it's up to each person to kind of do their own work. And if we understand that we're all looking for the same thing, that's all that matters. So I was kind of on a tangent there, but yeah, that's my final thoughts. And also thank you for having me, because this was a great conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure. Before it signs off, Caleb, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and hope you guys enjoyed listening.
Thank you.